For the first time in history, an international court is trying to arrest a sitting leader who's backed by the West. The International Criminal Court wants Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrested for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. So is this a groundbreaking step toward global justice? Or a politically driven attack that could upend the world order? Let us break down the real reasons why the world wants to arrest Israel's Prime Minister. On November 21st, 2024, the International Criminal Court or ICC shocked the world. It issued arrest warrants for two of Israel's top leaders, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant. This wasn't just legal news, this was historic. Never before had the ICC gone after the sitting leader of a democratic nation supported by the West. The charges? Among the gravest in international law, war crimes and crimes against humanity. The ICC says there are reasonable grounds to believe that between October 2023 and May 2024, Netanyahu and Gallant deliberately targeted civilians and used starvation as a weapon of war. They're accused of cutting off Gaza's access to food, water, medicine, and fuel, basic necessities for survival. According to the court, this blockade wasn't collateral damage, it was a strategy. The result? Mass suffering, preventable deaths, and what the prosecutor called deliberate acts of persecution. This came after a long investigation into the Gaza war, which began with Hamas's surprise attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. On the same day, the court issued warrants for Israel's leaders. It also charged Hamas's military commander, Mohammed Deif, with similar crimes. But after Deif was killed in an airstrike, his warrant was cancelled in early 2025. While Hamas celebrated the charges against Netanyahu, Israeli officials across the political spectrum condemned the move. Netanyahu's office called it anti-Semitic and a disgrace. So what does this all actually mean? The ICC doesn't have a police force. It relies on its 125 member countries, including most of Europe, to make arrests. In theory, that means Netanyahu or Gallant could be arrested if they set foot in any of these countries. But in reality, many nations like France, Germany, and Italy have quietly indicated they wouldn't follow through. This creates a massive divide between international law and political will. Netanyahu's world just shrank dramatically, and so did Israel's diplomatic space. This decision has split the world down the middle. It's not just a legal fight, it's a clash between two global visions. On one side are the ICC's defenders, human rights organizations, legal scholars, and dozens of governments. Their argument is clear: no one is above the law. They point to widespread hunger in Gaza, where aid groups and the UN reported famine-like conditions. The ICC prosecutor said this wasn't just a tragic outcome of war, it was part of the plan. The judges agreed, saying there's credible evidence that Netanyahu and Gallant deliberately deprived civilians of aid. Supporters argue that the ICC only steps in when national courts fail to deliver justice. And in their view, Israel's own legal system hasn't seriously investigated the actions of its top leadership. So for them, this is accountability in action. But Israel and its strongest ally, the United States, see it differently. First, jurisdiction. Israel isn't a member of the ICC. It never ratified the Rome Statute. So they argue the court has no authority here. Second, the context of war. Israel says it is defending itself against Hamas, a terrorist group that attacked civilians and hides behind human shields. Civilian deaths, they argue, are tragic but unavoidable in urban combat. Equating Israeli leaders with Hamas commanders, they say, is not just wrong, it's morally outrageous. Third, Israel claims its own courts are independent and capable of accountability. That means the ICC should step aside based on its own rules. The US agrees. Washington blasted the ICC's move as dangerous overreach that could one day target American leaders too. This isn't just about Gaza, it's about whether international law can or should override national sovereignty. The fallout was swift and global. The US outright rejected the warrants. President Biden called the move outrageous. In response, Washington imposed visa bans and sanctions on the ICC prosecutor and top court officials. Critics say this undermines the very idea of holding powerful leaders accountable. Meanwhile, Europe is stuck in the middle. Countries like France and Germany are legally obligated to arrest Netanyahu, but politically hesitant to do so. In April 2025, Netanyahu visited Hungary, an ICC member. Hungary's leader, Viktor Orban, said the warrant would have no effect and called the ICC's move purely political. Inside Israel, the reaction was unified. Even Netanyahu's fiercest political rivals stood by him. Yair Lapid called the court's action a disaster. Former Defense Minister Benny Gantz said it was a crime of historic proportion. For Netanyahu personally, this is a massive crisis. He can't travel freely anymore. He is essentially stuck with allies who are either not part of the ICC or willing to ignore it. It's a diplomatic freeze. This isn't just about Netanyahu. This is about the future of international law. Tensions in the Middle East are rising. Iran is watching. So are Russia and China. The ICC's decision has broken new ground. For decades, leaders of Western-aligned countries were seen as untouchable. That era may be over. The message is clear. If you commit war crimes, you can be prosecuted no matter who you are. For many Palestinians, this feels like long overdue recognition. For many Israelis, it feels like betrayal, ignoring October 7th and their right to self-defense. The world is more divided than ever. Israel has formally asked the ICC to cancel the warrants. But in May 2025, the court said no, so the legal battle continues. But even if no arrest ever happens, this case has already reshaped the rules. Can international courts hold leaders accountable even against the will of powerful states? Will this help or hurt the chances of peace in the Middle East? And what happens when law and politics collide? Let us know what you think in the comments. This moment could redefine how justice works on the global stage. The arrest warrants for Netanyahu aren't just about one man or one country. They are a challenge to the way the world works. Thanks for watching. If you want honest, in-depth breakdowns of global events, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay informed, stay thoughtful, and we'll see you next time.